4-color commentary. I'm Mark Allen, and I'm back again with a haul video. Just been picking up some dollar books and going after some new things after getting rid of a few things at prior Comic-Con. Not as many comics as I wanted to. I really hope to unload more. Gonna have to figure out a way to sell some bulk comics here pretty soon for cheaper even than I'd like, but that's sometimes the way it goes. But have been doing some dollar bin diving and picking up some interesting things, plus a few things on eBay. But just going to go through those things, especially since this Saturday, planning on making the Neosho Art Con in Neosho, Missouri. And going to plan, hoping to get some comics there. Got a pretty good haul last year from that con. So anyway, anticipate having a haul from that, a haul video from that con. So a few dollar finds lately. A few things that I hadn't seen. Actually, these first are going to be 50-cent books because at Shadow Mountain Comics in Tulsa several days ago, and it was the I'm not sure, I forget exactly how it works. The last day of a week-long sale or whatever, their dollar books were 50-cent books, and so we start with one that I'd never seen before. Charlton, and it was just, the cover was a throwback. It's only a 1984 comic, but it's Funny Animals #1 by Charlton Comics. That Al cover, which just spoke to me, and I just really like that cover. It can use a press. I'm going to press it, but still has some gloss, bright, vibrant colors. Love that. And you know, I don't know why the well, I do know why the inserts. The diamond jewelry sale inserts or so, you know, make a book a variant, if you will, and make it worth more. I guess because not the inserts weren't in every comic, but you know, this one does have the back cover advertising jewelry. That obviously is not a variant. I realize that all the comics had that. I guess that the inserts, the diamond ring, and it's usually marked jewelers. I guess those inserts were rare, more rare. They weren't in every copy of every book, I guess. I don't know. If anybody knows, let me know. But anyway, Funny Animals #1, 1984, Charlton Comics Group. Just a great cover. Really like that. 50 cents. So, you know, great find there. And these next ones, there's story behind this for me because I'm a big John Byrne fan, have always been a big John Byrne fan. And my introduction really to John Byrne, earliest introduction would have been, and I can't pin it down, it was either his early work on the Champions for Marvel Comics, or Marvel's Iron Fist. I don't remember which it was. I was just a young kid, but obviously that got me started. That's where I first recognized his art. I didn't start really recognizing his art and specific artists until I discovered his X-Men run. And John Byrne, Terry Austin, of course, doing the art while Chris Claremont was writing. But I have owned the John Byrne, Terry Austin run of X-Men, the entire run, about 3 different times. Sold the run each time for more. It was one of those runs that after a while I read it and read it and read it, and I didn't want to see it again for a while. Let me know if that's ever happened to you, but I didn't want to see it again. It was time to move on to other John Byrne stuff and acquire other John Byrne material that I didn't have before. Well, for 50 cents a piece, I found a bunch of these classic X-Men, the John Byrne reprints, the Chris Claremont John Byrne reprints. I couldn't turn them down for 50 cents because enough time has passed now, and I feel like, well, I can read these again. And so got #4. Now, some of these obviously most of these actually are Dave Cockrum, but I liked those too. The first Cockrum run, great X-Men stories, great comic book superhero stories. But #4, 5, and also, what can you say about the Neil Adams, the Arthur Adams covers for these books? Amazing. And the John Bolton back covers. I would take them out if I had time and show you every John Bolton back cover, but I won't. But the Arthur Adams covers, just really great stuff. And later on, Steve Lytle took over the covers and actually did a very good job on the covers. But anyway, there's #5, and of course #6. Wonderful, beautiful, very detailed Arthur Adams covers. #7, and of course 8. Actually, I have 2 #7s here. There's another one. Number 12, with Arthur Adams actually doing an homage to the one of the older Cockrum covers of the first run. I forget which issue. I actually even have. No. He's doing I'm sorry. He's doing an homage to X-Men #1. Wow, big miss. Way to go, Mark. But doing an homage to #1, and but I was thinking of a Magneto cover from the first Cockrum run. Anyway, my bad. Old man moment. Number 14, and again, great great Arthur Adams cover there. And then this one actually is a John Bogdanove cover. Surprised me. I didn't remember that one, but number 17. And then number 18, back to Arthur Adams. And just a great stuff. So it's classic X-Men reprints. These are, as I said, leads into the John Byrne stuff. The number 18 was a John Byrne, and as well as number 17. The rest, I believe, were all Cockrum, and that's okay because Dave Cockrum's stuff was good as well. But I've decided to go back and start picking up again those John Byrne, at least the reprints. I'm not going to get the originals, just the reprints, because they're fun again. Okay, anyway, moving on. Now this is a 1996 book that of a character that just appeared, I think, for like 3 issues of her own title, and then disappeared, as far as I know. She probably appeared again in other books, but I'm not aware of it. But first time I read her initial appearance, really enjoyed it. Flight, super strength, and some invulnerability. Teenage girl, just kind of a neat. It sounds pretty typical, but she's called the what is they called her? I'll show you here. Marvel's sassiest. Marvel's sassiest powerhouse, and that is Ultra Girl. Really like that cover a lot. I remember liking the story, and I'd been for a long time. I don't even know if anybody cares, but I had been personally for a long time looking for #1 again, this first appearance of this character, and hopefully get the others as well to read the story. But of course, the first one she faces she has some Sentinels coming after her. So I don't remember if she's a mutant or not, but obviously the Sentinels think she is. But I was happy to find that in the dollar box. Now that one was $1. The classic X-Men and the Funny Animals, those were 50 cents. But Ultra Girl was $1. The rest of these, let's see. Yeah, that was $1. I don't know how that got mixed in there. The rest of these are 50 cents. Ultra Girl should have stayed where she was. The rest of these are 50 cents that I'm about to show. I tell you what. Since I went to a dollar book, let's go ahead and do the rest of the dollar books. These I pulled out today at Vintage Stock, in Joplin, Missouri. I'm familiar with the EC reprints. You probably are as well. I wasn't aware of bad 1950s EC Comics, Incredible Science Fiction. That's what this says, bad 1950s EC Comics, Incredible Science Fiction. However, has a wonderful Jack Davis cover on there. And anytime I find these reprints, I buy them. Because here's the thing. These originals are hard to come by. Buying EC books, if you know anything about comics, collecting old comics, buying EC books in high grade, good luck. You're going to have to, maybe you can get Donald Trump to help you invest and buy those books. However, the reprints, I pick them up anytime I see them, multiple copies even, because there's going to come a day. I just think it's a no-brainer that, and you see it happen periodically in comics, but people can't afford the originals. They come to appreciate the classic stuff again, and they go after the reprints. And so that's why I picked those up. Plus, they're just a lot of fun to read. I mean, look, let's face it. Even what they called bad EC Comics, they're as good, if not better. Did I say as good? That's probably close to an insult. Better than most of what's being published today. So there you go. Now, this next stuff, these are going. I went back to dollar books here, and I'll go back to the 50-cent ones after these 3 books. All right, 3 books, and then we'll go back to the 50-cent books. For $1 today, I got these. Now these all tie into Star Brand. I was always a big Star Brand fan. I mean, back in the day back in the 80s when Marvel started its New Universe line. Starbrand was the only book I was buying of that line, while other people were buying Merc and PV7 or whatever that was called, and Night Crier, Night Shadow, Shadow Dream, the Dream Guy. I don't even remember what they're called, because I was just amazed by and entertained by Starbrand. And I always was, I always have been. I've got multiple copies of the first appearance of Starbrand. I've got multiple copies of the run. And I just enjoy it so much. Starbrand lately has come back, and Marvel has worked the character into current continuity. I don't even know if they've done away with the whole new universe, where he came from. I don't know if they've retroactively done that or what. But I do know that there was that the Starbrand showed up periodically, more than once anyway, in the comic book series Quasar back in the 90s, and also in a short limited series called Star Blast. Now, Star Blast, I've never heard anybody say, "Oh, you need to read Star Blast." But what I decided was I was going to go back and start trying to find it. I actually bought issue number 1 recently at a flea market locally. But I did find today issue number 3. I've decided I'm gonna track these down and all the tie-ins and read the story. And then I also got Quasar number 54, which is a Star Blast tie-in. Now, plus it's Hyperion versus Gladiator, two of Marvel's Superman. Who doesn't want to see that fight anyway? So, not that, but then also Quasar number 57, simply because in one way or another this deals with one of the supporting characters of Starbrand, of Quasar. I'm sorry, actually ended up with the Starbrand, and it's a female character, and I wish I could tell you more, but all I'm doing is I'm going back and getting these issues that deal with the Starbrand and deal with her having it. So that's the story behind that. Speaking of Starbrand, by the way, if you have the Key Comics app, Key Comics, Key Collectors Comics, whatever it's called, it's a great app. I use it. I've flipped many books because of it. I'll just tell you, I've made a lot more than the dollar and change I spend on it a month, just by looking at it and flipping comics it says are hot. Okay, now look, just because I don't buy into everything being, all these new comics being hot, it doesn't mean I won't flip them if people are paying more for it. But here's the thing. They said that Avengers number 30 of the current Avengers series, number 30 is the first appearance of Starbrand as a baby. And that is just not right. Someone's not doing their research over there, which happens. But Starbrand actually appeared as a baby back in the original series in the 80s. And John Byrne had taken the reins of the book when it did that. And so anyway, that don't believe that. Do not go out and buy Avengers number 30 thinking, I'm at the first appearance of Starbrand as a baby. Go back to the original series. It's after issue number 10. I don't remember, but I can even remember that's a blue cover with a baby on the cover and the Starbrand in the background, and it's Starbrand as a baby. There it is. So one of the things I've noticed about the Key Collector app is that one of the other things that it does, and be careful about this, they will say, and they'll even say on, they'll also say on the show that that pushes Key Collector apps so much, Comic Tom. I love Comic Tom. I love Comic Tom and the whole crew there. But Comic Tom 101, what they'll say a lot of times is that a book is bringing, $25, $40, or $50 online. That's not always the case. Oftentimes when they say that is they're calling, they're saying what people are asking for a book. Because I've done this. I've gone and looked right after they've said, oh, it's bringing $50 online. And I'll look and say, no, that's what people are asking. People are actually getting, in many cases, maybe half that or less. So be careful. Do your homework. Don't just listen to an app, or don't just read an app or listen to a YouTube program and say, oh, well, it's doing this. Do the homework yourself. Go, and there's nothing, no substitute for doing the homework yourself. Go on eBay and check it out. Now, the rest of these are 50-cent books. Okay. Hope you're not confused at this point. Tales of Asgard. a 1984 reprint book with a wonderful Walt Simonson cover on there. I don't know how many times they've reprinted Tales of Asgard more than once. This, however, is actually in the Indicia on the front page. It says Volume 2, Number 1. So I'm thinking maybe these are Jack Kirby stories, Thor stories that weren't previously reprinted. But anyway, regardless, when I see one of these, especially for 50 cents, that's a no-brainer. And whether I press that and put it in a box, or just go ahead and put it up on the spinner rack, because the boys love Jack Kirby. It was just a no-brainer for 50 cents. You can't go wrong. Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Silver Age Marvel, 50 cents. Booyah. All right. So there you go. All right. Another one of these 80s miniseries that I remember reading. I'm doing a lot of nostalgia buying these days. I've mentioned that before, but is one of these, again, an 80s miniseries, XMen and the Micronauts. I've been looking for that run again. I didn't find the whole run, but I did find issue 1, which, hey, if you're going to start, you might as well pick up issue 1. 50 cents. Again, no brainer. Some amazing Butch Geist art in there, and I don't remember who wrote it. Probably Chris Claremont. Let's see if I'm right. Let's see if I'm just going by who was writing X-Men at the time. This is an X-Men story. Let's see if I'm right. I'm probably wrong. Hey, how about that? Chris Claremont and Bill Mantlo. Bill Mantlo, I would imagine at the time, was the Micronauts writer, or if the Micronauts were still running. Anyway, some great Butch Geist artwork there, and just wonderful stuff. All right, so X-Men Micronauts number 1, 50 cents. Can't beat it. So anyway, hopefully trip along on the other 4 issues. I believe maybe it was 6-issue series. I don't remember. But anyway, looking for the rest of those now. All right, this is something I wouldn't normally have gotten, but I did, because first of all, I'm a reference material guy from the rousing reference materials, and this was one of those things that I saw and I thought, interesting reference material, and beautiful, beautiful George Perez cover. It is the official Crisis on Infinite Earths Index. And let's see if I can get a zoom in on that. Look at that George Perez goodness there. The detailed, amazing, just, there was a time when you couldn't beat George Perez. You just couldn't. All right. Now, speaking of reference material, and again, that was 50 cents, as are the following. Speaking of reference material, I always loved magazines like Amazing Heroes and Comics Interviews, or Comics Interview. Just great information and stories and write-ups, and sometimes previews of books and comics, stuff like that. So anyway, I went ahead and got some of the ones that interested me, and this one, the cover really struck me. Black and white covers sometimes, for some reason, just strike out at me. But this one is Comics Interview number 28, with interviews with Jackson Geist, Bruce Patterson, William Woolfolk. But anyway, Comics Interview number 28, right there, black and white cover, striking. These are not in any particular order. Comics Interview number 23, with interviews with Neil Vokes, Phil Foglio, Cat Ironwood. But number 23, these are great, and to find them for 50 cents a piece, go on eBay and see what's the lowest you can get a bunch of Comics Interviews for. Now, you might get a good deal on a lot, on like a stack of them, but in general, these things people they go for more than that. I mean, I snatch them up if I find them in a $1 box. So 50 cents is a no-brainer again. Number 32, interviews with Stephen Bissett, Alfred Bester, and Brad Anderson. Wonderful Swamp Thing and Cloak and Dagger cover on there. Great stuff. And then the Comics Interview number 34, an Elektra Assassin. Talking about Bill Sienkiewicz, talking to Bill Sienkiewicz about New Mutants, Mad Men, and Elektra Assassin, the first miniseries. Marty Pasco and Rick Bryant, but just a great, lots of white in that cover, clean cover. Elektra throwing her sigh there. Comics Interview number 35, with Henry Vogel and Mark Probst, Denny O'Neil and Byrne Metz. I don't know who some of those guys are. I know who Denny O'Neil is. But talking about aristocratic extraterrestrial time-traveling thieves. Just a great cover, though. Just enjoy the cover. And again, there's always good reading in here. It's guaranteed that for 50 cents, there's going to be at least one story in here that I'm going to go, yeah, that was worth it. Okay. And then the next three, I got these because, again, John Byrne guy, and probably a little bit of speculation here. I'll cop to that at 50 cents a piece. But 3 of issue number 25 with that great John Byrne cover with She-Hulk, the Thing, and Sasquatch, and and the Hulk, and just is great. Just a great, wonderful cover there, and all John Byrne, and and also 30 full pages of previously unpublished pencil art by Byrne featuring the Fantastic Four. So I just love stuff like that. Love reference material, and that stuff was worth it for 50 cents a piece. Finally, eBay finds, and start with a New 52 series that really flew well under my radar until just recently. Just bought the first issue 0, and then I think the first 4 or 5 issues, and just engrossed with the story. Great story that to me has been underappreciated, undervalued. No one ever mentioned it to me, and that is Talon. Talon, this is a Court of Owls assassin that decided to, who broke the programming, if you will. And that's all I'll say. But just a great story. Love the character, love the art and the story, and it is a Scott Snyder book. He's Scott Snyder writing it. No wonder it's so good, with James Tynion the fourth as the artist. But I found issues on eBay for just a song, basically $1 a piece. That's shipping included. But number 7, number 8, number 10, number 11, number 12, and there's a great Batman cover there going after Talon. Can't wait to read the build up, and then that one, number 13, and number 16, and number 17. I'm telling you, my son and I finally read, my oldest son and I finally read the first story, the Court of Owls story, and what an amazing chapter of the Batman mythos Scott Snyder has created there. Just amazing stuff. But and then finally, last thing, a couple of finds. Oh, and I meant to dig out a couple other books, but I don't have them. But another time, a couple of finds on eBay. Got an issue number 1, and number 2. There's very few Dell books that I care about of any era, but these are Silver Age Dell. And just a little bit of background. Dell did some Universal Monsters books. I've got one of their Universal Monsters books, and then they also that did stories of Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman. But then they also did one-shots back in 61 or 62 of Frankenstein, Dracula, and I think of the werewolf. Well, but here's the thing. A few years after they did those, they did 2 or 3 more series of each as superheroes. Dell printed a few issues, 2 or 3 issues of Frankenstein as a superhero, complete with superhero costume, and Dracula as a superhero, complete with superhero costume. Now, Dracula and Frankenstein started with issue number 2, even though they were a few years after the initial issues. The first issues were just straight monster story, tip of the hat to the Universal Monsters, celebrating the Universal Monsters. And then a few years later, 66 or 67, they started the series up again and made them superheroes. It didn't last long. They were very goofy, but very gitchy too. Just kind of cool to have. Well, in that vein, Werewolf, number 1. Now, Werewolf was not a monster, whereas Frankenstein and Dracula were actually, Frankenstein was a monster, Dracula was a vampire, as I remember, and being a superhero. Werewolf was a spy in a special suit. There's something special about this suit. Haven't read it yet, but he did have a wolf, a sidekick wolf, pet wolf, whatever you want to call it. And so just really cool stuff. And then issue number 2, what I love about these two are the colors. The blue border on the on issue number 1 with the white next to it there and everything, and then the yellow with the green of the ocean. I'm thinking they had to do that because his suit was just black and featureless. But there was something, I think there's supposed to be something special about the suit But it's just a man, just a guy, spy, and he's called Werewolf. So anyway, there's 2 more issues, I believe, perhaps 3. Plan on getting them all, and just I love that stuff. Like I said, I can the Dell books that I care about are probably make up a stack about that tall. So anyway, but that's it. That's all I have. That's the haul, and just some interesting stuff out of the cheap boxes and cheap eBay deals. But hey, that's what life is about. Okay, that's not what life is about. But that's one of the great things about life is cheap comics. You can still find good comics for cheap. You don't have to follow the trends. You don't have to follow what's hot. But you get that Key Collectors app or whatever it's called. You can flip. You can find some comics in the dollar box and flip them, and thereby make money to buy the comics you really want. So anyway, hey, I'm Mark Allen. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you'll do that and like this video below. But otherwise, come back again for our next video, and we'll see you then.